Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. So, are some errors coming to an end? Will the Boston Celtics suffer the same fate that Mr. LeBron James and the Lakers felt last night? Then, sports in Vegas, where did it come from? How did it get so great? Why is it awesome? Because Vegas is paradise, people. And then we're going to talk about some Major League Baseball realignment. I am 2-5, and that is Mr. Logical. So, Raph, what's the word?
Listen, man, this is an exciting time in sports. I want to give a shout out to all the pundits out here that listen to our podcast and
you don't know nothing about no brick.
Y'all know nothing about the bricks. I mean, all of a sudden, I mentioned Tristan Thompson being in the role, and I'm gonna get some minutes. All of a sudden, he's in there. Like, listen, the word's getting out there.
Somebody's out
there watching our podcast and not giving us credit. Just give us a shout out, man. It's free. That's it.
Yo, these dudes out here with 3 cuts in their eyebrows trying to wild out. You jacking our slang. Man. You jacking our slang.
I'm telling you. Yo, matter of fact, real quick, the fight's gonna happen. What I talk about, like, y'all got the whole summer. It's hot right now. You just had Garcia and Davis. Then you had Lomachenko and Haney. I'm like, y'all gotta get this fight happen by the summer. And the fight all of a sudden is on the books. Listen, man, give me my cut. Give me my cut and my credit, whatever.
If I ever see a double main event, I'm suing.
Give me my cut or my credit.
Play the tape.
That's all. All we asking for.
So shout out to Earl Spitz and Bud Crawford for finally getting this shit done. And shout out to the Denver Nuggets because I picked them to go to the finals. I picked them to go to the finals. So congratulations, Denver. It looks like Miami's probably going to be joining you. I got 22-18 right now with 2:44 left in the first quarter. So let's get this thing started. So, Raph, Mr. Logical, I was sitting up here and, Mike Malone, after game 2, he was talking about, hey, we won game 1 and all I heard was how the Lakers were going to figure us out. They were going to make the adjustments and now we're up 2-0. And I'm sitting up here like they swept. And the only thing on my mind is, how do I say goodbye? Is LeBron out of here? Like, what's going on?
Listen, I'm a LeBron fan, but like I told you when you sent me that message, they were up double digits. The Lakers were up double digits in game 2. Mm-hmm. And if they would have won that game, he wouldn't have said anything about the narrative and everything else. But with that being said, the Nuggets in the first NBA Finals, they got a decision to make because you got Jokic 15 or Carmelo Anthony's 15. Which one are you retiring? But
you know the answer to that. That ain't no question.
Hey,
that is not a question.
Melo or Jokic?
Jokic.
Why would you just automatically assume Jokic? Because he got
Hold on, time out. Like, why are you making me
all time?
Why are you making me seem like the crazy one?
Well, I'm just saying, like, I think it's a discussion to be had.
I mean, one of these dudes.
It's the same thing with Milwaukee with Ray Allen or Giannis. But let's not get sidetracked. You know how we
No, it's not. That's not a thing either. That's Giannis.
Okay.
That's not a thing. I mean, Giannis has won a championship. First championship since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's an MVP, 2-time MVP. Defensive player of the year.
You're just skip over the legacy player.
No, I love Ray Allen. Like, Ray Allen, one of the reasons I felt confident enough to shave my head. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying that at the end of the day, Ray Allen goes down as a Celtic, because he won that championship. So, like, Ray Allen was great with Milwaukee, but they don't even have a final. He didn't even have a finals appearance under his belt. Now, Carmelo, unfortunately, ran into the beam. Like Kobe took care of him. But Carmelo ain't got no MVP. Carmelo asked for the trade out of there, mid-season and all that stuff. Like,
all I'm saying is that 15 is it's gonna be different.
Carmelo is one of the top 5 overrated players in NBA history.
Cap, but we'll discuss that at a later point. I guess we got.
My bad, y'all. I get passionate. My bad, y'all.
Yo, this
anyway,
man just went ham, didn't he?
The Nuggets are going to the finals. So not only did they get their first finals appearance, their first time ever sweeping a playoff series.
I mean, I'm saying like I've been sick this past weekend, so I've just been doing a lot of resting and just I didn't really get into sports. I was getting like highlights here and updates from you. Last night I was still sick. I was like, yo, I gotta see what's going on with this game. So I pulled it up and I watched the fourth quarter, and it was competitive. But what I noticed is like LeBron was out there, he was harassing Jamal Murray. And I think LeBron's like 13 years older than Jamal Murray. And he was harassment. I think they got like 2 or 3 shot clock violations. And it didn't feel like the other 4 guys on the floor were matching that same energy. Granted, LeBron was doing it in spurts because you got to manage your energy when you're that age, or whatever injury he has, you got to manage it. But he was harassing Jamal Murray. But then Jokic was like, listen, I got the soundboard step back or whatever that shot is. I don't know how it works. It works for him, like the whole Sean Marion, the shot or whatever. So like it works for him. It shoots up to the rafters and it drops.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I thought their role players had played so well against Golden State that I thought it would transfer. I thought they would be able to, to hit some timely shots. Whereas the Denver players, KCP game 1, excuse me, like I said, I'm still kind of sick. KCP game 1 had like 21 points, hit a lot of timely threes. Then you had Jamal Murray that just went bananas in the second half, mainly the fourth quarter of game 2 at home, which allowed Mike Malone to go to the podium and say, hey, listen,
talk about us.
Talk about us. And you would think that the talk should be about them. And then what happens? LeBron goes out there, almost drops a 40-point triple-double. But yet, Jokic wins the Irvin Magic Johnson Western Conference Player Award.
As he should.
All the conversation today is about LeBron, if he's going to retire or not. And I get it. He's a polarizing figure. So no matter what he said, if he got up to the podium and he said, hey, I think we had a great year, I'm just going to take some time to reflect. Just take some time with my family, take some time to reflect on the season. I think we had a great season. I think the coach staff did a great job. Shout out to Rob and the people in the front office for giving us here. If LeBron would have said that, it still would have been a story of like, what do you think that means? Because all I've heard all day long is people saying, LeBron wants to do this. I'm like, I've never heard LeBron speak through interview. He literally, his agent is his boy, and his business managers are his friends. Like these are the people who speak. So he has multiple TV shows. He has plenty of means of saying, hey, this is what I mean. It's like people were using the word subtweet in his conversation. Like you don't subtweet when you talk, you just talk.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, people weren't talking about Denver. I'm like, I want to talk about Denver. I want to talk about Denver. Can they sweep Miami?
No.
Based off of what? Like if we think about it, like the way Boston, we talk about Boston, but for the most part, they're down 3-0, or they're down 3,
and they down 8 right now.
No team ever comes back from 3-0. So all intents and purposes, Miami is going to be the opponent for Denver. I give Denver a great shot. Not sweeping Miami because I think the talent inferior. I just think that the way the way Denver plays together. And even when I picked LA, I was like, and then watching them play, the way Jamal Murray just feeds off of Jokic, the way those two best players play together it's reminiscent of the way AD and LeBron played in the bubble when they won that championship. It was like, hey, you got down here, I'm out here, let's make this work. Whereas you want that with Tatum and Brown, but it's like they both out on the wings trying to make it happen. If you both cold from the wings, there's nothing you do. But you got a guy like Jokic getting 6, 7, 8, 9 dribbles in the post, getting layups, going through contact. He doesn't get sped up. Like, you can't rush him. He never looks out of control because he's going so slow. He's like, boom, boom, boom. What are we going to call him? 7 foot, 280? Generously.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, is Bam going to be able to bang with him all day long? Who are you going to switch onto him? Strus? Kevin Love?
Not Kevin Love.
Heller?
Zeller, you mean? Yeah.
Heller?
Zeller, yeah.
Yeah.
All I know is it's so hard to say goodbye to the Lakers. So, look, so check it out. So, all right, for real, LeBron ain't retiring. Like, that leaves $97 million on the table. So, like, he ain't gonna retire. Maybe he takes a year off. People talking about he gonna play with Bronny, all that stuff like that. I couldn't care less. If he wants to play with Bronny, cool, do that with your son, but I don't care. But D'Angelo Russell, please come to the carpet, sir. Plus minus, right? -47 for the series. And that was with a +6 yesterday. So that was like the only game in the series that he was a net positive. So Denver, the criticism about Denver was they don't play defense. They don't have a good defense. But when you look at their roster, they have good defensive players. Like Aaron Gordon's a decent defender. KCP is a good, he makes his name on defense. Bruce Brown is a good defender. Jeff Green can be a good defender. So, like,
what's a good defense, though? Because it seems like every single round somebody's mentioned how poorly the other team, but like all these teams are still in the playoffs. How poor is their defense?
Like the only team that I really truthfully thought had, I thought 2-5. The only team that I thought had bad defense was Sacramento. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know what bad defense is to some degree because everybody scores 112 points or something along those lines. So you ain't holding somebody to 87.
Miami was the lowest scoring team in the league, and now they're a game away from being an NBA.
Well, Miami just beat the hell out of Boston the other day, and Boston still scored 102. So you know what I mean? You're not holding. This ain't the 90s where you're holding somebody to 75 points.
Yeah, games aren't 93 to 89.
But I think the good defense comes down to like field goal percentage. So with the Lakers, right? The Lakers got to the. I'm not going to disparage them. They got to the Western Conference Finals. So all credit due, but you said it yourself. Like if Clark and Steven Adams was there, they might not beat Memphis. They beat Golden State because Golden State kept shooting threes. They shot, 46 threes a game at one. I don't know what the final numbers was, but at some point in that series, they shot 46 threes per game. So like they played right into the Lakers' hands because the shots weren't falling. And we talked about it. The Lakers were going to get the free throws, for being aggressive in the paint. So, those teams, fell right into the Lakers' trap. Whereas I think Denver, it was just Jokic. Like, I know Murray scored a lot of points. Michael Porter hit some threes, but I think it was Jokic's initiation of the offense, because we talked about that at the beginning of the series where you can't let Jokic, you want Jokic to get all the points because everybody else isn't getting fluid into the game. The Lakers, I don't think ever did that. There were like portions of games, but even last night, in the group chats, everybody's talking, LeBron this, LeBron that. And right when the game went to halftime, when he walked off the court with like 4 seconds left or something like that, I said, look, that man is tired. All credit due. He came out there 31 first half points. Give it to him. You don't say nothing bad about him, whether you think he's a GOAT or not, irrelevant. The man did it. And as an old man myself, he inspired me. But as this was going on, I said, hey, don't be surprised when this score flips because the Lakers aren't going to keep hitting these threes. And by the way, they went 1 for 9 in the second half from 3, and LeBron was going to tail off. He went 4 for 12 in the second half. But what I didn't think was going to happen was I was going to go brush my teeth and then Denver was going to be within 3. I didn't think it was going to happen that fast.
Oh, that 15-point lead disappeared like cotton candy on a hot summer day.
They outscored them 36-16 in the third quarter.
That's that quick.
Just that quick, snap of a finger. So I expected that this was going to happen. So I think the Nuggets, like I said, I picked them to go to the finals. I might as well take that leap because initially my pick was Denver-Boston. So I was going to pick Boston in that series, just because Tatum and Jaylen Brown, the switchability, all that stuff. But now that we're here, and now I'm not disrespecting Miami, but I'm gonna say 5 with the possibility of going 6. Because I'm gonna give Jimmy Butler 1. I'm gonna give Jimmy Butler 1.
I mean, Spo did lose in 5 to San Antonio that year. I think that was the cramp year when LeBron had when the air conditioning
didn't
work.
Heat cramp,
and
yeah.
Which
is a thing.
Yeah. By no means am I saying
No, I know people criticize him for that, but that's a thing.
My only you want to say Denver because they just won. They're gonna get, when's the final start? Today,
Thursday, June 1st.
So they get, if Miami wins tonight, so they get about 7 days each. Game 1's gonna be in Denver.
Altitude.
Miami
coming off a long break, potentially playing in the altitude could be detrimental.
I mean, maybe they get there Sunday, get acclimated, get a couple of practices in. My thing is just who are you going to, in a 7-game series, how many bodies do you have that are 6'9" and strong that you can just bother Jokic with?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have those bodies? And I'm looking. I watched a lot of the Miami.
You might have to put Jimmy Butler on him for a few minutes.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if because he can see over it, because he doesn't have to go. That's the beauty part of how he plays. I can get my points from anywhere I'm at, or I can get a ball up to Jamal Murray. He can do all the dribbling. I can kick it out to KCP. He can pull up, spotter shooter. Michael Porter Jr.
And Aaron Gordon should play better in this series against Miami.
Aaron Gordon's out there trying to be a bully. I like it. Shout out to the light skins with the dreads and everything. He's out there trying to be a bully, and I get that, and I think that'll be effective. But just I don't know where Miami. I don't know how Miami defends Jokic. Excuse me.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing is because everything goes through Jokic, but the fact that everything goes through him, but he doesn't overdo it. For instance, I'm trying okay,
Miami's just going to have to keep up the shooting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything Luka, everything in Dallas goes through Luka. You have Kyrie there, but it has to go through him for him to be as impactful on the game. Whereas Jokic, we talked about, he went 11 for 24 yesterday, but still got a 30-point triple-double, average a triple-double for the sweep, and, won the best player award because he could just, the step back, he caught the ball at the 3-point line, the free throw line extended. He took one dribble, took a step back, then took the step back after that and shot this thing up. LeBron's in his chest. LeBron's not a small dude, 6'9", 250, 260, and went in. Didn't touch the rim. Same thing he did on AD. And it's you can't defend that.
Speaking of AD. Yeah, that silence is about that explains him. But anyway, back on task here. So Miami just has to keep the shooting going because we went over their numbers from the first round to the second round. The second round they fell off a little bit. In this series against Boston coming in tonight, they're back up to 48% from 3. So they're just going to have to do the 3 is more than 2 thing potentially.
Or either they're going to have to put the ball in Adebayo's hands and have him go at Jokic and maybe get 2 fouls.
Foul trouble. Yeah, because he can get fouls. He will get fouls.
But I think after he gets 1 foul, you just put Gordon on him.
Mm-hmm.
You just put Gordon on Adebayo, and then you just have Jokic run point center. I think as we saw it all kind of play out. I remember when they made Durant got traded to Phoenix, and I think Trae Young tweeted out, he was like, "So we just gonna not act like Kevin Durant is on Phoenix or something like that." I'm paraphrasing. But
Yeah,
like,
pretty much what he said. Yeah,
he was like, "So this is a league what we're in, where it's like Ayton, Chris Paul, Booker, and Kevin Durant are the same basketball team."
and yet his name is in
And
Laker rumors right now.
yeah, there's always every viable good player option is always going to be linked to wherever LeBron is. It's just standard. The media wants LeBron to get his 5th ring just as much as his fans do. But
I don't know why
some
though.
people, I think just the league is in it.
Am I the only person left? Am I the only person
from a creative storyline conversation? He does move the needle.
Am I the only person left that just likes sports?
No,
like I don't get it. I don't do the soap opera thing. Like, oh, LeBron for the ring, Kobe for the ring. Like, I don't do that. Like, I just want to watch basketball. So like, for example, this year, if the Nuggets win the title, Jokic wins his 1st ring. You know, that solidifies the negativity that he got, because people said, oh, he's got these back-to-back MVPs, and oh, he might win a 3rd, but he don't make it out the 2nd round or whatever they said. You know what I mean? So like, that's put to rest. You know, there's your storybook. And even though they were the number 1 seed in the West, from a franchise standpoint,
Jokic's brothers are more polarized than Jokic.
You know, Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy Butler gets that 1st ring, you know what I mean? He's got that old school. Butler. He's got that old school kind of dog in him. You know what I mean?
Rachel Nichols is going to be so excited if Jimmy Butler wins that ring.
Yeah, everybody should be. Like Jimmy Butler. So excited.
So like Jimmy, I'm so proud of you.
So like, to switch gears for a second, just real quick, I promise.
All right.
So you know, I used to listen to Joe Budden back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But back before I realized, never mind, I ain't gonna go there. But anyway, I was listening to Joe Budden, and people were like, how is Def Jam supposed to market him? Like, how he can't be successful? How can people market him? And I was like, yo, he's just regular Joe. He's just a regular dude. That's how you market him. That's Jimmy Butler to some degree. Like, he is us. Like, I mean, he's rich and everything, but he is us from the standpoint of he grinds, he works hard, and nothing is ever good enough. He's always looking for better or whatever. Like,
every team
that's
needs
how you market
a player
him.
like Jimmy Butler,
but not usually. But he's just not usually always like that type of player. Is not usually.
I don't know how the teams that he was on let him go,
because he hadn't developed into. I mean, I'm sure he had the mentality. Mentality.
Like if we think about it. Think about the Chicago years.
I understand why Chicago moved on.
Why?
Because you gotta so in the NBA, you don't want to be a treadmill team. You know, I don't think that Jimmy Butler was going to lead at that time in his career. I don't think he was going to lead
Chicago went to the NBA Finals.
1998.
Okay. So they better be happy they had a treadmill in their home.
You know, and then you look at Minnesota. Minnesota was just stupid. Minnesota was just stupid. I have nothing for that. Philadelphia was stupid. You chose him over me.
Okay, cool.
I wouldn't choose Tobias Harris over me.
Okay, we can go ahead and throw Chicago in there as stupid as well. Then, right? We good with that? Are we good?
No.
What? Why not?
I mean, yes. If you're looking back after the fact,
if you look, at it,
yes. But in real time, I don't think anybody knew that Jimmy Butler was going to turn into this.
But that's the thing, Jimmy.
That's Butler, what you thought.
It's not like he's out there dropping 40. It's just
I know.
Always even if you want to.
So hold up. So when
Batman and Robin situation, Thibodeau. He is the persona that Tibbs has from the bench. Right. Is what Jimmy Butler had on the floor.
Right. I get
Derrick
that.
Rose had the injuries, and Derrick Rose had that quiet tenacity.
But Tibbs was also playing everybody like 47 minutes a game too. You know what I mean?
These dudes are 22, 23, 24, 25 years old. Like,
so when Jimmy...
Think about this. This is something I was thinking about when I woke up this morning and the sun was coming up. You remember like staying out all night and like being out when the sun came back up?
Yeah.
Like just being like out in Vegas, or like if you're like TD Watt somewhere, you out all night long drinking and hanging out, and the sun came back up. How crazy that sounds to do it right now. Me and you wouldn't do that this week. If we met up this weekend, like, yo, let's just drink and hang out all night, and the sun came back up. It sounds crazy. But when we were 22, 23, 24, 25, that was no problem. When you're that young and you're playing that hard, I just think that these teams that move off of
I
Jimmy
know,
Butler,
but what I'm saying is
they didn't match his
that's
intensity from the office.
that's recency bias to some degree, though, because we have these results in front of us that we're seeing from the bubble on, or if you want to give him a little credit before that. But the point being is that when he left Chicago at that time, nobody was like, they just let Kobe walk away, or like, oh, why are they?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's Kobe. When he took the backups in Minnesota and beat the starters,
that was after
that
Chicago.
should have been, that should have been like, yo, we need to figure out how to keep this dude around, because if he can take 4 bench players and beat our starters and talk slick the entire time, we got to figure out a way to make this work, because it got to.
What's that old saying? What's that old saying? You're the Timberwolves for a reason. you know what I mean? And then when he went to Philly, I have no idea.
All this trusted process and this and that, like, yo,
Kawhi traveled.
Traveled so bad. No one.
And then they would have been playing Milwaukee, and I think that they had a good shot to beat Milwaukee that year.
Listen, yes, it is a bit revisionist history.
Yes. I mean, it was Game 7 and a buzzer beater. How do you not run that back?
I mean, listen,
a buzzer beater would have traveled.
Travel. They had Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler,
Tobias Harris,
Embiid, Tobias Harris, Doc Rivers.
Don't count Doc Rivers.
Don't
count Doc.
It's just I don't know. I get it, and as we transition to the Jimmy Butler conversation,
but Jimmy Butler seems like a Doc, like that could work, because I mean I'm not making a direct comparison per se, but like Doc had KG, like that shit talker, get up in your face. I mean, he probably wasn't as in your face as Jimmy, from the standpoint of like Jimmy's probably willing to throw hands. You know what I mean?
But yeah. KG. Oh, I thought you were gonna say Jimmy Butler's. Oh, KG was. I
was saying like from
I'm
just saying from a personality standpoint. Like Doc Rivers dealt with KG, so you would think that. Oh no, Brett Brown was the coach at the time. When he played with Philly, so Doc wasn't there yet. But the point being is that, like, when Doc came, if they would have kept Jimmy Butler, like, I think Doc would have been able to hone in on that personality.
But that's the thing. You don't really need to hone in on a guy that can take 4 bench players and beat a starting NBA team and talk shit the whole time.
I mean, that team had
Minnesota. That team had
Carl with a K on it.
Carl, either way, 7 feet tall, he shoots threes. I'm pretty sure whatever physical play they were allowed to play.
I don't even think Jimmy scored in that game either. Jeff Teague was making it sound like Jimmy was out there playing Magic Johnson, but Kawhi on defense.
Just shutting it down. And it's like, either you got to check your ego at the door. One of my favorite movies, Ocean's 11, Brad Pitt's teaching Topher Grace and a bunch of these young celebrities how to play poker. And it was like, what's the first rule of poker? And it was like, leave your emotions at the door. Sometimes you got to get in these rooms with these players and divorce yourself from the titles and just look at it like, okay, I'm not the GM. Like, we are this team, the ultimate team. We are the Minnesota Timberwolves. We are the Golden State Warriors. We are the Phoenix Suns. We need to figure out how to make this work. We are the Brooklyn Nets. We need to figure out how to make this work.
that is
like you just squander it. And I think what we're seeing in Miami should be a cautionary tale to all these other teams. Like, listen, keep your better players, keep your coaches, go through the downtimes, go through the years where you're 40 and 42, where you're 37 and 45. I mean, go through those years, keep those coaches, learn, fail, and then watch them succeed. Don't keep firing coaches every few years, because Spo probably could have been fired a few years ago.
Well, if you're Portland, do you kick the tires on James Harden? But anyway, so like with Mazulla, right? Like
I'm about to kick you off this podcast.
I'm saying you got to get somebody in there.
No,
but
no,
anyway,
why don't you play fantasy basketball?
Anyway, I'm not. He's
James
a free
Harden,
agent. He's a
James
free
Harden need to
agent. I'm not
retire.
saying trade 4 players for him, but Mazulla, Boston gave him the extension, during the season. Could they fire him after this? And have like 4 coaches within 5 years?
Well, this is the thing about Boston. It's probably some of the best law schools in America are in and around the Boston area. So I'm pretty sure there's a nice crafty lawyer who put a paragraph or blurb in there that says how they can get out of the deal, or how long they have to pay him if they fire him, or when the contract extension is.
But is owner Raph or
Same
coach
thing with Derek
GM Raph, is GM Raph firing him?
I wouldn't fire him because it doesn't look like he's over his head. He's just being out coached by a veteran.
Somebody just needs to tell him it's okay to call a timeout.
Organization, he might just need this experience.
Yeah, I need to look up and see who's on the bench. Like, because they lost. Not only did they lose Ime, Damon Stoudemire, Damon Stoudemire went to take the head coaching job at Georgia Tech. Will Hardy went to Utah. So it wasn't just Ime that they lost.
Yeah, so he might need to take his lumps. You have, in the beauty part is you have a core of players that have had success. So you don't have to teach success. You just have to understand resilience. The bounce don't break, ideologies. Like, listen, you've been in the NBA finals, you've been in the Eastern Conference finals, you've been a successful basketball team. Instead of looking at oh, we're not getting over the hump, think of it like this. You could be Detroit, you could be Orlando,
Houston,
you can be San Antonio and Houston, you could be these teams or you can even be Sacramento. Like, Sacramento got their run this year. Everyone loves them. And they went out in the first round, and the city was super excited. Yes, you have a high standard for sports in Boston because of the previous Celtics dynasties and the previous Patriots dynasties and the Bruins and just the Red Sox and the whole allure of sports in the Northeast. So I understand there's a lot of pressure in that. But realistically, if you look around the league, there's not many teams that are going to be able to run at you Yeah, that elbow looks messed up. With Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Yes, it might cost you $600 million between the two of them. But, you selling these jerseys for $185 a piece. So
Gabe Vincent with the Jason Kidd behind the back. 45-44 Miami, 4:10 left in the second quarter. Yeah, so I don't think that this is a blow it up moment, in my mind, from the standpoint of trade Jaylen Brown or something and see what you could get for him or anything like that. But you may want to look at some other players. Like, obviously Horford's a little long in the tooth, as they say, so maybe it's time to move on from him in a way. Like, I don't know if he retires or, he's old enough to retire, but, but then you got Marcus Smart. Like, I don't know.
That's the thing. I don't when we talk about this, we being the podcasts and the groups and then the pundits on TV, what are you getting? If I know that you're ready to blow up your team and you say, you want to sell this car, you want to sell it for $5,000, but for 2 months you've been telling me how much you hate it. And as soon as you put out there for sale $5,000, I'm gonna offer you $2,500.
Well, it depends. Like, how many teams have a Marcus Smart, running the point?
If a team doesn't have a Marcus Smart, what if they don't have a Marcus Smart? What do they have to offer you that's going to give you what Marcus Smart is already giving you?
But maybe you don't. Maybe you don't need what Marcus Smart is giving you. Maybe you need something else.
Player of the year last year. He was defensive player of the year last year.
He was, but Tatum and Brown are already good defenders, and obviously, like that doesn't. I mean, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy, but obviously that doesn't bring you a championship. Obviously, that doesn't bring you a championship.
Well, listen, everybody don't get a chip.
I know, but if you've been in the Eastern Conference Finals for 5 out of the last 7 years or whatever it is, you went to the finals last year. Get me a championship. But now, if we were talking about Sacramento, I'm not saying give me a championship.
Boston's been to the Eastern Conference Finals with 3 different coaches.
Mm-hmm.
With Kyrie on the team, they had Kyrie.
He didn't play though.
He didn't make it. So you had Brad Stevens, Udoka got him all to the NBA Finals, and now you have Mazulla. They got him. So you don't need to do a lot of like shipping off pieces because those pieces got 3 different coaches to the Eastern Conference Finals. Look at how many teams, 20 teams essentially make the playoffs out of the 30 in the NBA. And there's still teams that haven't made it past the first round. There's players, Carmelo retired today, and he only won 3 playoff series his whole career. You got to win that many playoff series to make it to the NBA Finals. So they've done this. I mean, we talk about Tracy McGrady. So like, it doesn't just happen to where it's like, boom. It just kind of blows my mind that
makes sense. That makes sense as we talk about it.
Success.
That makes sense as
we gotta blow it up.
That makes sense as we talk about it. I'm saying that makes sense when we talk about it, but I'm talking about people in the building. You know what I mean? The owner, the dude that signs the checks. This is the Boston Celtics. You know what I mean? This isn't. The Milwaukee Bucks. This isn't.
Down. They got 11 Chicago back before we can use.
Hey, they got that very impactful one from 2008 that gets celebrated every year.
True indeed. Style. 11 of the championships. Martin Luther King was out here giving speeches, and they weren't able to stay at the same hotels, and so it's like, let's calm down on the Boston Celtics.
The Lakers are definitely the NBA franchise, not the Celtics.
The Celtics are a great franchise, and Bill Russell, I'm not trying to diminish what they did, but it's like, let's calm down on the Boston Celtics basketball. Let's relax. We're the Boston Celtics. Yeah, you were awful for a very long time until y'all made that trade, got the 1 chip, and then you went back, and it was cool.
Shout out to my guy Dana Barros and Dino Roger. He ain't talking about y'all.
Yeah, shout out to 2008.
Rest in peace, Reggie Lewis. Rest in peace, Reggie Lewis.
Shout out to the 2008 championship Celtics. I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the next season they're gonna do a 15th anniversary thing. Book it. I'm saying it right now.
Is Ray Allen gonna be
May
there?
23rd. Ray Allen's gonna be there. They made a minute.
Or is he gonna be trying on Bucks jerseys or something? But
they already gonna put that in the rafters. But like I said, it's just my thing is this: when has it worked to where a team was like, if just off of memory without Google anything, a team has gone to a conference finals and then didn't make it to the NBA finals or lost in the NBA finals, and then they blew it up, and then they were right back.
Cleveland,
or they got over.
Cleveland.
Yeah, because they had a dude that wore 23 come and save them. So it doesn't happen. That's my thing. Like, this is we've had so many of these conversations. We've had it with football. We've had it with college football. We had it with baseball. We talk about, every time I talk about this, I'm like, show me the evidence to where excuse me, it works to blow up your team you get over the hump.
I think I need Jason Tatum to un-KD himself, because I think what I see sometimes, and I don't know of any tension between him and Jaylen Brown. Like, obviously,
I don't think there's any.
But sometimes what I see is Jaylen Brown go Westbrook and like just dribble a ball off his foot for no reason in a pivotal moment, or you know what I mean? Like, in Jason Tatum, I don't necessarily see him do the like give me the ball and get out the way thing. I'm not saying everybody needs to. Hold on. I'm not saying everybody needs to be Jordan or anything. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm just saying that obviously from the outside looking in, this is Jason Tatum's team. And I think that Jaylen Brown needs to be reminded of that sometimes.
Yeah, but once again, where does that...
I'm just telling you what the dude be doing. Dribbling off his foot, turnover after turnover, missing free throws, shooting 10% from 3-point range in this series.
Team All NBA.
He just does this. I like Jaylen Brown. I like Jaylen Brown, but I got to be objective and say what I see.
But that's the thing.
Just because I like him don't mean I ain't gonna say it.
What about the games where Jason Tatum doesn't perform or Grant Williams shoots way too many threes? Like that's
you time out.
Real problems.
Grant Williams is shooting 69% in this series, and he's the only dude that got up in Jimmy Butler's face.
And then got subbed out because
Jimmy
Butler was cooking them like a
That's
bratwurst.
All right. You got to do that sometimes, but somebody has to stand up.
Don't.
Like
you don't have to do none of that shit.
Yes, you do.
You got to
like,
play defense. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
He was playing good defense at times. Jimmy Butler was just on. Jimmy Butler was just. That don't mean he wasn't playing good defense.
He wasn't.
That doesn't just because somebody scores points don't mean you was. How many defenders have you seen be in good positions against Kobe and he just make a crazy shot?
Listen,
how many times did you see AD? How many times did you see AD up in Jokic's shit and Jokic shot that shit from the supermarket?
Listen, when Mike starts screaming like this, he know I got him.
No, you don't got me. I'm just saying.
Listen,
good defense doesn't mean we just talked about this.
Grant Williams was in the bottom of the rotation since like the second round. He gets in the game. He gets a couple of shots in, and he's all forehead to forehead and all blah, 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 all this extra stuff. And then what did they do?
You said it yourself.
They called 3 ISO plays for him. They shifted the entire Miami team was on the weak side of the floor, and Jimmy Butler just backed him down 3 times in a row, and he put him on the bench. I said Mazulla did a bad move by not running a double.
I ain't talking about that. You said that every team, every championship team should have, the star player, you know what I mean? Like the crazy guy that, does these type of things. I'm not saying Grant Williams is crazy, but I'm just saying he was the one person on it. Usually you would think Marcus Smart would be that guy to do those things.
You already have that guy. You don't
tell him to do it.
That's the thing. The crazy guy isn't the guy that you don't just poke the bear, i.e. Dylan Brooks.
I get that. But great players do great things. Sometimes it
Grant
works
Williams
and sometimes
is not
it doesn't.
Great player.
No, I'm talking about Jimmy Butler. Like sometimes great players just do great things. But you still need somebody.
You got me one-on-one with a dude that can't guard me, and I'm ISO on this whole. I got this whole side of the floor to myself.
The number one criticism I've heard about Boston, and granted, it's probably cliche, but one of the most criticism I've heard about Boston this week is their lack of heart or whatever. Like he was the guy that just chose to do that. You know what I mean?
But that's not heart.
I'm not whether it is or isn't. Somebody
said that before.
Either you gonna get your ass busted and be quiet.
Jimmy
what's
Butler
the difference?
Would be down 8 points.
What's the difference?
This is the difference. Jimmy Butler will be down 8 points and will be talking slick like that, and then run off 8 points to tie the game. Grant Williams will shoot a 3 and go up 2 and be like, and then give up 6 straight points and 2 fouls and send them to the free throw line to get put on the bench. That's the difference.
Look, you could get your ass busted and be all quiet. You could be, listen, you know what I'm saying? Like
Dylan Brooks did the
act
same
like you
thing.
Care.
Dylan Brooks did the same
thing.
I don't respect nobody till they give. I don't respect nobody till they give me 40.
Dylan Brooks just wasn't playing well, period.
And Grant Williams wasn't in the rotation. So how well was he playing not in the rotation? And then he gets in the rotation.
That's Mazulla.
And he's like,
he should have been in the rotation. That's Mazulla.
And then he gets cooked, and then he gets put right back on the bench.
That's Mazulla. Like maybe he doesn't fit. Maybe he doesn't fit what Mazulla wants to do or something. But that's Mazulla.
I have no idea what Mazulla wants to do.
I have. That's what I'm saying. Like Grant Williams should have been on the floor.
Grant Williams was out there getting cooked.
He was. Everybody that guarded Jimmy Butler was getting cooked.
Not to that degree. Like literally, man. Like they.
So somebody was getting sauteed and somebody got flambéed. Like, look,
Listen,
everybody was getting cooked. Everybody got the olive oil.
The boy was in the smoker. He had
everybody
him in the
got
smoker.
the coconut oil.
He was wrapping them up. He was putting the thermometer in them. He was checking on them. He was like smirking at him.
That man like Thanksgiving.
Yeah. He was treating that man like, listen, man, I'm about to serve you to my whole family in 8 hours.
All I'm saying is I don't have a problem with somebody, saying just taking it upon themselves to try. Maybe he thought he was going to rile up the rest of his team, and they just didn't come with him. You know what I'm saying? Who's coming with me, man? You know what I'm saying? They just didn't come with him.
Maybe that's the case. I mean, listen, I'm all about you getting out there, but it's like it's the same premise as Dylan Brooks. It's like you can just play your game. You can be intense, but you don't need to be theatrical. Like there's no need for two sweaty grown men to be rubbing their faces together to talk shit.
You gotta be
like
sweaty,
that's why
slapping meat, huh?
Like a grown man told me, don't argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who. That's why Jimmy smiled at the end. He was like, "Come on, man, stop it!" And he cooked him. And he went right back to the bench.
He did. But I just like the fact that somebody had the initiative to try to spark something, or like it's not his fault. It's not his fault that Brown and Tatum. It's not his fault. Brown and Tatum.
12 and he goes to 5, and it's like, all right, let's call this timeout because they just ran out 7 points in a row.
It's not his fault that Brown and Tatum didn't come with him. That's not his fault. Like they were supposed to come with him. So real quick, 56-50 at halftime. Miami is up right now at the half. Jason Tatum, 8 points, 8 rebounds on 3 of 7. Jaylen Brown, 7 points, 4 assists, no rebounds on 3 of 6 shooting. Derek White with 11 points to lead the way for the Celtics. Miami, 10 points, 3 rebounds from Bam, 4 of 8 shooting. Jimmy Butler, 9 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 3 of 7. Kevin Love with 6 points, and Gabe Vincent leading the way with 11 points. So 56-50 Miami. But yeah, I
don't get how, like, as you ran down those numbers and you were talking about the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Like I said, I don't think there's a beef at all.
No, I don't either.
I think people see that tandem and they see the success and they think it should be just sustained success all the time, and they should be getting over the hump because so many teams are just 1 step forward, 12 steps back.
Well, like we said,
but they only got 13 shots between the two of them. How is it that you don't have? But this is a closeout game. I'm like, listen, I'm running Tatum through the post. Like I'm getting Tatum, 16 shots.
Tatum, get me 31 points at the half.
I'm like, yo, get me buckets. Like all this cute stuff we've been running, this dribble handoff and all this back screen and this motion 50 and this motion 51 and the cutter. Nah, that's cool. Let's get dirty. Let's get Jimmy Butler in foul trouble. Let's get Bam in foul trouble. Let's put some pressure on these guys so we don't just keep running the same stagnant offense that Spo's seen for 20 years. Because people know Spo was a video coordinator for years before he got to the bench. So he was breaking down film for Pat Riley, who's probably particular about the way he wanted film broken down. So naturally, you have to absorb how you view film in order to break it down for Pat Riley,
and
who's a legendary coach.
And Pat Riley told the Heatles, shut up, because they wanted Spoelstra out of there.
Yeah,
and
when
he's like,
when
no,
LeBron bumped them in one of them timeouts.
Disrespectful ass. You know what I'm saying? But Pat was like, no, this is the guy. Shut up and play ball.
This is the guy. This is my protege. You'll like it. And maybe LeBron didn't like it and he slid. And, he got a couple of chips since then. But
yeah. So, I don't know, though. But where did it all go wrong? So let's go back to like the start of this series. Where did it all go wrong?
It just...
Like, is Miami they just got that momentum with them and nobody was going to beat them? Or...
I think Miami believes that. I think Miami can see these dudes. I think the 5 guys on the floor for Miami, when they look across the guy that's defending them or that they're guarding, they can just see like, oh, these dudes, they don't want it.
Yeah.
They just something innate that they have. They're just like, you know what? We are man to man. I'm going to beat him tonight. And then Kyle Lowry comes off the bench and he's like, I'm going to beat this guy. And then Jimmy Butler is like, oh, Grant Williams with the forehead stuff. He's like, all right, cool. I'm about to get you put back on the bench. And he'll say it to him. He's like, I'm going to get you put back on the bench. And then he gets the ball 3 times in a row, gets like 7 points out of it. He goes right back to the bench. I don't know if Boston has that same thing. I hear like some of the timeouts. Like I'll give you an example. Mike Malone, he was in the timeout. I believe it was game 2, and they might have been down like 8 to the Lakers. And his voice sounded like this. It's like, we gotta keep playing. And it was like, you could tell, and it was like, yeah, he lost his voice last series, and he's on the verge of losing it again. But what he was saying was, we got to keep playing. We got to keep up intensity. We got to keep a body here. We got to keep a hand here. We got to keep a man here. It just was very like directed. Like, I need you to do this. Mazulla was like, he was like talking in analytics. Like he was talking like he was like Robert Frost and like F. Scott Fitzgerald, like he was telling a poem or something. It's like, you just need to be like, yo, this dude said he can kick your ass and you letting him. Like sometimes you might just need to say that, but I think he just was like, we're not matching their intensity.
You got to force Jimmy to the left corner.
You know, like just something simple is like, you can just be like, yo, no, I need you to show everybody the 51-point game 7 you had against the MVP and a former MVP in James Harden. Like, I need you to play like that. Like something that simple, like in the huddle. And I think he just kind of preaches a philosophy and an ideology. And then I don't know if it just doesn't get them riled up enough, or they can get deflated because Miami is just intense. You know, like they're just intense, just you know, heady, strong team. And Boston, I think Boston is playing a little bit more analytical and just kind of a little too passive, for lack of a better word.
Right. Right. But no, you know, I think that Miami is just, like I told you, like before we got into the series, I said something along the lines of like, they just played Boston in a 7-game series last season in the same round, lost game 7 at Boston, and they played them in the bubble, you know, in the Eastern Conference Finals as well. They're just not scared of Boston. Like, I mean, not that anybody's scared of anybody, but you know what I mean? Like, they don't look at like, oh, we're going to Boston game 1. We got to be on our P's and Q's.
If Jimmy knocks down that 3 last year,
they're in the finals.
It was in Miami. Yeah, they're in the finals.
Or it was, yeah. They're in the finals.
Like,
you know,
and everyone was like, is that a good shot or a bad shot? It was like, no, like I think Boston had a lead in that series. I think Boston went up. It was like 2-1, then 2-2, then 3-2. And it was like, you got them against the ropes. And I think Boston was up that game.
Right.
I think they were up in that game, and it was like, it was the same way that they clawed back against Milwaukee. It was, I think what happened in the Milwaukee series is being transferred over to this series, where,
well, yeah, I think the lesser players,
Miami just knows, like, everybody on the floor is not ready for this moment.
Right.
And I think they're riding that wave, whereas Boston, like you said, like your famous phrase, they play with their food too much. And they had the lead when they were up 71-59 in game, I believe it was game 1. And then I think I got up, went downstairs, I might have microwaved some tea, came back up, and the score was 75-74 Miami. I was like,
so the thing that Jason Tatum has to realize, you know, because everybody wants to be a Kobe disciple or whatever, you know, and dedicate everything to him, and then it usually doesn't end well. But you know, Jason Tatum needs to understand. Jason Tatum needs to understand, and I like Jason Tatum. You know, I told you earlier in one of our episodes that at that time I thought that he had a serious case for MVP this season. You know, so I'm all on board with Jason Tatum. But you can't do the Mamba mentality thing and then only wait until you have to be Mamba mentality to pull it out. So like game 7 against Philly, he could have done that in game 5, or whatever. And we wouldn't even got to a game 7. They could have closed it out in 6, like the thing about the Mamba mentality is that this is here, this is now, I'm going to take it. You're not going to win.
You got to be willing to put up 30 shots and live and die with the results.
Well, I'm not even trying to get him to do that per se, but I'm just saying you got to do what's necessary.
Current player doesn't have that.
You got to do what's necessary
because the constant Twitter.
I think Devin Booker has it.
No, when did he have it? When is he showing it?
He's on the team with KD, and well, let me rephrase. He doesn't take 40 shots always, but he does. Go ahead.
Some of these guys, what I think hell, you and
Donovan Mitchell.
You and I have a podcast, and it's looks pretty official. We got cameras, we got backdrops. We're getting views. We're tracking it. You can catch us anywhere. You get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So there's plenty of podcasts.
Yeah.
YouTube. You have current players that have podcasts. I don't know if these guys are willing to go out there and go 13 for 39.
Donovan Mitchell. He'll do it.
I mean, some guys do. Like, I don't know if these guys are willing to literally go out there and just go for it.
Yeah,
it's like
just lay it all on the line.
NBA player. Like, you're one of 400 people who do this job. And if you're this far into the playoffs and you're a starter, you were second, third, fourth in MVP voting. Your first, second, third team all NBA. It's like, you are the creme de la creme at what you do. You shouldn't be out there looking nervous. It's not. If you are all NBA, that is 15 people. You are one of 15 people who are the best in the world at the sport you play, a sport that's played around the world. The number 1 pick is coming from France. So you're one of the top 15 people in this sport. You got to be willing to go out there and say, I don't give a damn what the media says. Hell, I don't even care what the coach says. I'm putting up 25 first half shots. We doing pick and roll, screen and roll, pen downs, whatever it is. I'm getting to the free throw line 12 times. I'm going out here like AI in his prime. And I'm we gonna ride or die with that. There's so many teams that are just, it's like college basketball is like leaked into the NBA. These guys just seem like they don't have their own individual ferocity. And then the guys who do have it, it looks fraudulent, i.e. Dylan Brooks and what Grant Williams did. Is like, that's not real intensity. That's not really what you do. So it's just a matter of like, your intensity has to be intrinsic. It can't be brought out by a coach. But like I said, it just feels like college basketball players are just playing for professional teams.
That's why
there's no way in hell in a closeout game your 2 best players only put up 13 shots.
I really can't understand. I just don't understand. I know we criticize him and he deserves it. And we make fun of him and all that, but I just don't understand James Harden at all. I just don't understand him. Like, when it comes to this type of stuff, to close out and all this kind of, like, he had the 45 in game 1 when Embiid didn't play. I think he had another 40-point game, in that same series.
Dudes don't want the smoke, man. They don't want the smoke.
But I mean, he's been in the league for so I could understand, to some degree. I don't understand, but I could understand if he was like Tatum's age or something like that or whatever. But even Tatum's been in the league, 7 years now.
Yeah, he's got a nice little run. What is it? Markel 20.
Yeah, Lonzo. I think that was 2018, maybe.
This might be his 6th season.
Yeah, so like, I could understand. I mean, he's still relatively,
like you said, they're all under 26. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Jordan didn't win his first championship to year 7 or whatever. LeBron didn't win it to like year 9 or whatever. So I could get it if it was somebody like Jason Tatum. But for Harden, who's been in the league 10 plus years, I just don't understand like how you haven't got there by now because he obviously can score at will at times. Maybe not now. Like it's probably a little more reserved and he has to save up for those moments. But in a closeout game, I just don't understand why.
You gotta keep in mind, like if you think about guys like KD, Harden, Russ, LeBron, Carmelo, Kobe, there was a stretch where guys from the early 2000s were still kind of running the show, so you had Kobe got drafted in 96. He still was winning championships.
They were still trying to find the next Jordan.
Yeah, so he was, I think Kobe, they won a championship in 2010, right?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Okay. Yeah. So then from there you had Tim Duncan and going back to back with LeBron in Miami in 2011, 12, 13.
I think he came in the year after Kobe or
a couple years after that. So you got a guy like James Harden who came in around that same time, and they are still like, then they had LeBron. LeBron caught his run where he got his team together. So he had an 8-year run to where it's like, where am I going to get in? And then, you thought you were going to get in, and then Steph went hot. So you had Steph, he had his run with the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Warriors were in paradise for a few years, but when I think about paradise now,
that was 4 or 5. That was 5 years in a row.
Yeah, but when I think about paradise now, I think about the Aces, the Raiders, the Knights, soon to be Oakland A's. Las Vegas sports is here, and Las Vegas sports is here to stay, unless Vegas runs out of water or something like that in the next 40 or 50 years. But
they'll redig that dam. They'll do something. It's not that far away.
But yeah, sports in Vegas, what's up?
Yo, I'm excited for sports in Vegas. I mean, if we just ran down something as simple as like they got the Raiders there.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady just put a little money in that, by a little,
and they're like an all-time franchise too.
All-time franchise.
Probably most recognizable franchise besides the Cowboys.
Then you had the NFL draft was there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that stadium was like $1 billion, $1.5 billion. It's right, like I said, it's right across from Mandalay Bay, right across I-15. And then you had the Oakland A's decide, you know what? We're going to Vegas too. So they're going to implode the Tropicana, which is, I'm trying to give people a visual. The Vegas, if you, any movie you've ever seen, The Hangover, if you've seen where Pac got shot, that intersection with the MGM Grand, it's a shot you see every single time the helicopter pans over and it's a boxing match. So you had the MGM Grand, you got the New York, Excalibur, that's the hotel, looks like a castle. Tropicana is right there in that corner. They're going to implode that because it's a very old hotel. It got renovated some years ago, but for the most part, it's not up to par with the rest of the hotels in Vegas. And they're going to put a stadium right there. I read 30,000 seats. And you think, like, that's crazy. You're going to put a baseball stadium right downtown. But me and you, we went to a game with the Rockies game with the Denvers, literally right downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Phillies is right, is right in the middle of a sports complex. But it doesn't take that much space for a baseball stadium because, it's only 300 feet from home plate to fence. You build a parking lot around it, boom. And you have all that space because Tropicana, it goes out. It's like a couple of cheap hotels. You have like the Hooters Casino. Then you have like America's Best Value Inn, like a Motel 6. All that stuff, you can just go ahead and just clear all that out, put a nice parking lot. But it's right downtown. Right across from that is the T-Mobile Arena. Then right up the block is the Vegas Stadium. Then you have the Las Vegas Aces, also minority owner.
And
Tom Brady with the
Michelob
majority
Arena?
owner.
Yeah, Michelob Arena, I believe they play in.
And then you have Tom Brady and Mark Davis, who owns the Las Vegas Raiders, also owns the Aces. They just won a WNBA championship this past season, so they're defending champs. I mean,
Vegas is in the Western Conference Finals right now. NHL, and they made the Stanley Cup in their first season.
Yeah, first expansion team to ever
You
do
know,
that, and they're up 2-0 right
Capitals.
now.
Capitals took them out on their home ice. But anyway.
So then you got the Super Bowl. Now, Super Bowls for ballers. People like me, I like to do the $10 Super Bowl squares. That's how I ball out for the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl suites, $2.3 to $4 million, but they're projecting for a party of 16 to get one of these suites. That's a real baller. But 2.4 million. But a regular home game, you can rent out the end zone. There's like a section down there. So like people are coming to these games, and it's an indoor arena. So that's even better because that Vegas heat's different. That's that heat that lean on you. Like
right.
That heat lean on you like a bill collector. It's just different kind of hot. It's a different kind of hot in Vegas. People
Right.
hot. Yeah, but there's no shade. There's no trees. And you can dip and dive into one of these casinos. I don't know. I just think Vegas is just they're making major moves. We talked about it all the time. When we were growing up, it was like they didn't want any professional teams in Vegas because of the gambling. But now you got the apps, and the apps are paying these teams, are paying these leagues $20 million, $35 million a year. So why not? So you going to Vegas? What you want to like? Okay, somebody's paying for your next Vegas sports excursion. You got plenty of options to choose from. What are you going to see?
Shit, I should try to go see Spence and Crawford, but I'm gonna be just getting back from Cabo, so But but yeah, so this is why the NBA is so awesome at times because they, if nothing else, the NBA has foresight. So they put the summer league out there in 2004. They could have put that out in Cali, they could have put it down in Phoenix, but no, they chose Vegas. And Vegas, if nothing else, it's a destination. So, when you're looking at these current teams that are playing there, when the opponents come, it's a vacation for the fans. Like they not only are you going to go see your favorite team play football, but look around you. Feel the atmosphere, feel the vibe, And then, if you're a player that plays there, you ain't got no reason to complain. Entertainment, is one of the entertainment capitals of the country. Like you can't complain. I mean, you can complain there's no
One of the
beaches and all
greatest
that kind of stuff like
skylines.
that.
It's one of the greatest skylines you'll ever see.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like I think that the NBA set a certain template there because they even took an all-star game there. People were upset about that. Like, oh, why is Vegas getting an all-star game? It's going to be violent and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, like, well, hey, the Raiders are there. Like, violence is there. Like, what are you going to do about that? Violence is everywhere.
So chill.
Violence is everywhere, but so like the NBA set up that template, and I think the gambling was a big thing, and sports just there was a certain Pandora's box that sports didn't want to get involved with. But now we're here because now we got NFL players getting suspended in consecutive years for gambling. So that's going to happen with some degenerates out there. But
this is the crazy thing about sorry, my bad. This is the crazy thing about I knew some Saints fans that is he retired and lives out in Utah. Him and his wife drove down the COVID year when they weren't allowing fans into the stadium. Drove down there in their Saints gear. They had a weekend in Vegas, but they drove down there that weekend just so they could take pictures outside of the stadium in their Saints gear, talking about let's go Saints, but no one can go into the stadium. But that's how dedicated they were as fans. Granted, it's only like a 5
and it's a memory. Drive. It's a memory.
Went down there, brand new big stadium out there with their jerseys on. So it's like you're gonna get fans.
And remember last week, I think it was, we were talking about NFL expansion. And I brought up San Antonio, and you brought up the counterpoint of, well, you got the Cowboys out there, and you got this, and you got that. Vegas didn't have to worry about that, because everybody's brand new. These are Vegas's teams. Even though Oakland, the Raiders came from Oakland, even though the A's are coming from Oakland, these are Las Vegas teams because they don't have a team in Reno or something that they're competing with, that has a national following. And I mean, UNLV, let's be honest, basketball, football, all of the above, where they at? Like,
Yeah, they're not
UNLV
moving the needle.
Yeah, so like they don't have that to compete with because you got towns, like I always hear Birmingham brought up as like an expansion spot for people, and I'm like, you put a football team in Birmingham, they gonna convert the Crimson Tide? Probably not. Like some towns,
Birmingham, Alabama.
yeah, that's people have said that over the years. You
Come
know what I
on,
mean?
man.
Like, you know what I mean? And so like you got all this stuff to compete with in these other places, but in Vegas, you own the team. The arenas are new and state of the art, because all of these arenas have been built in the last decade, if not closer than that.
Yeah.
Michelob, T-Mobile, the Summer League played at Thomas and Mack, which is where UNLV plays, but that's okay. It's basketball. It's not a real professional, you know what I mean, Summer
Yeah,
League. So it's
but
not,
but it's but it's but it's still prime. It's a prime quality gym. And
mm-hmm.
the thing is like Vegas looks huge when you think about it. You think like, oh my God, it's huge. It's like it's the equivalent when people think about Times Square, like New York, Times Square, the ball drop, and you see it on TV. Like, oh my God, so many people here. It's so huge. It isn't. It's tiny. It's very it's like this, and they just pack in a bunch of people. Vegas is pretty much the same way, where everything is right there. The T-Mobile Arena is literally like tucked in between the interstate, right behind New York Hotel, and then you go north a little bit, and then that's where the football stadium is, and then the T-Mobile Arena is across from where the baseball stadium is going to be, which is right next to MGM Grand. The Spence Crawford fight is going to be at the T-Mobile Arena, which, like I said, is like it's all right downtown. So if they want to get an NBA team there, infrastructure is already in place.
It's coming.
It's already in place. I don't know a team like short of maybe Portland. I think that's probably the only. I think they just kind of because you still keep them in the West.
Well, I think they're going to get a franchise team. I mean, franchise. I'm stupid. Expansion team. That's where I was going with that.
So that will make 31 teams
in Seattle.
So
Could be 32. I mean, because like listening to Adam Silver and different media pundits, there have been thoughts that we may hear an announcement as early as 2024 for the next expansion teams in the NBA. I don't know. Seattle and Vegas are the favorites. I've heard Vancouver. I know Patrick Mahomes was working to try to get a team to Kansas City, but they may have to wait another round if there's another round.
Because I think his wife got a professional women's soccer league team there with investors.
So I know that he's on board with trying to like help bring a basketball team to Kansas City. I don't know the infrastructure of Kansas City as well as I know Vegas, but I just know that when people were sad and are still sad to this day that the Seattle Supersonics are gone, and most of us still create the Seattle Supersonics on 2K, and do a little running with them. But I also forgot to mention that Vegas also has the G League Ignite. So like the young dudes that like don't necessarily go to college, go play against professionals, get some experience before they hit the NBA draft. So you got that going on. Scoot Henderson, for example.
So we book it. So we're gonna book it right now that the next expansion announcement is gonna be Vegas and Seattle.
That's my thoughts. I would say Vegas more so just because of the new market.
Vegas gamblers.
But hey, all kinds of names. The gamblers, the blackjacks. Like all kinds of things.
Hold on. Okay, we got the Vegas gamblers. You got the blackjacks.
You can't call them the spades though. You can't call them
the spades.
You can't call them that. You can't call them that.
Roulette? No, you can't call them the roulette.
It's
not. I think Vegas gamblers. I think gamblers send a bad tone.
Yeah.
Blackjacks. Or they probably just do something simple like the Vegas Vipers or something like that. Just something.
Well, like Las Vegas Aces would have been good, but that's already taken. So
I just realized how dope that was when you said it. I was like, oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah, so you got all kinds of stuff that you could do with it and have fun. I'm sure there's names for gambling and like different like cards that we're not tracking right now. You know what I mean? Like, because I know at one time there was a thought that the Kings were going to move there. The Sacramento Kings were going to move there.
All you gotta do is change the Vegas Kings.
There you go. You know what I mean? You can even keep the same colors, but just make the uniforms better. You know, but that was when KJ was up there, fighting to keep the team and everything, and they were successful to do that. But but I think the Kings probably would have been better off in Vegas. But Seattle, I think, like I said, I think there's a public want for the Supersonics to come back. And Seattle's got hockey now. They got the Kraken. So you got Climate. I can't remember the name of the arena. Climate Pledge or Climate something arena. But Key Arena is probably a little outdated. If it's still there. So, but Vegas has become this place. And gambling is more accepted publicly. Like the NFL now acknowledges, even though they got the players in trouble, these sports leagues acknowledge. On TNT, like they're always talking about FanDuel, like during the basketball games, the FanDuel, like who's going to score what, and
it had the spread when they came back from commercial break.
Yeah, and Boston has jumped out to a 9-point lead with about 6:24. I haven't been paying that much attention to the game because we in this conversation, but I saw Jason Tatum hit back-to-back threes. So he's waiting till they're down 3-0 to do the Mamba thing. No, just playing. So back to the summer league for a second because I wrote down my note. So early in 2018 when they did the summer league, there was the NBA set their total attendance record, like overall attendance, not just one game, but overall, 139,972. 139,000 people, 140,000 people came to Vegas to watch Lonzo Ball, to watch Jason Tatum, to, so on and so forth, and then in 2019, they had a day average or a day record with 12,199 fans in one day coming to watch the Summer League. So if you're a team like the Oakland A's, you're sitting there in a piece of shit stadium that that you had. No, seriously, like you remember the Raiders
everywhere.
You remember the Raiders like in the dirt on the field and everything. I thought it was cool looking. I thought it was cool looking as a little kid.
Cool. Yeah, Travis Kelce said it was the worst.
But growing up, that's trash. Yeah, when I was 10, that was awesome. Growing up, that's trash. You know what I mean? So
I played on the field like that when I played football when I was 13, but that's acceptable because I was 13.
Right.
I wasn't a professional athlete.
Right. And so Oakland, I know that people are going to come out and say that Oakland did this, they said that, they were going to build this, they were going to build that. Oakland never had to let it get to this point for the A's. So that stadium, I call it a dump. That stadium was a dump like 15 years ago. Like this is not a new FedEx Field is a dump. You know what I mean? Like everybody talks about the turf. It's fairly new, but I mean, it's old now, like with the rest of the stadiums that are being built and everything. But like Oakland had no reason to let the A's get to this point. So now, not only we talk about the fans coming to Vegas for vacation, now it's a free agent destination. Players are going to want to come play in Vegas. LeBron's talking about owning a team, and Floyd Mayweather, maybe they'll get on a joint venture or something. But now you mentioned Tom Brady. So you could possibly look up in 5 years or so, maybe 10, and have Tom Brady as a partial owner of a team, LeBron or Floyd Mayweather, more likely LeBron, as a majority owner, in your city. You got a WNBA team winning championships. You got the Knights, like I said, Stanley Cup appearance their first year, and they're 2 games away from the yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, so Vegas, it's not only is it paradise, it's sports paradise at this point.
On top of the fact that it's a dope city in and of itself before the sports, because sometimes like the sports makes your city more like impressive than it is.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, it's like, yo, it's a dope city. Like I love it. It's one of my favorite cities on earth. Like I've gone there a lot.
Maybe UNLV can get the NIL popping. Like what if a random fan just goes to a casino, wins like $5 million, and it's just like, yo, I'm giving $1 million to NIL.
Yo, it's called reinvesting your winnings.
Yeah, so but I've always wondered though, like, so Vegas is like this big time thing, and I know like why Reno like ain't
I mean, Reno.
It's nice, but obviously it's not Vegas.
It's.
Shout out to Lake Tahoe.
I think just because it's a
Carson
little
City.
bit more in the middle of nowhere.
Carson City stand up, yeah.
Than Vegas. And I think they were like, all right, we got to pick one. Because there's no easy route between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no, like you say, you're stationed in Utah. You can take I-15 from Idaho all the way down to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Like, straight shot. Like, basically, you zone out and you wake up in San Diego.
End up damn near in Mexico, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, look at Grant Williams for 3.
I hope he sees his podcast and shouts us out. Whatever. You get face off another man's face.
That's my guy, man.
So there's no way. Okay, thank you. So there's no convenient way. But with Vegas, you can probably look at flights right now. What's today's date? Today's the 23rd.
May 23rd, year of our Lord, 2023.
Pull up your phone right now and look for a flight from San Antonio to Vegas, and it'll be a reasonable price for next week. It'll probably be around $380 to $400. Maybe Spirit might get you at $220, $250. Everything about Vegas is to get you to the city. I think the most I've ever paid for a ticket is probably like close to $500, $550. But that's because I like to fly on the earliest flight I can out of the East Coast, and then the red eye back. Like, so I like to fly Thursday morning, like 8, 9 o'clock out of here. So that's 3 hours because they're on Pacific time. So it's 5 a.m. I land in Vegas and it's about noon, give or take. And then I fly out on a red eye either Monday night or late Sunday night, like 11:45. So I get the whole thing. I get all the Thursday still. I get all of the weekend. And even if I have to fly out, more likely it's Monday. So like that's why I end up paying like $5 something. But if you just want to fly out for the weekend, you can get a nice round trip for like $250.
You get it cheap. You get it cheap.
So you get a ticket to one of these baseball games for $80, 30,000 seats. They're not trying to, get in there. It's probably going to be slot machines. Because there's slot machines everywhere in Vegas. Go to Rite Aid. Yeah, it's a slot machine.
But yeah, like Vegas is just, it's the perfect place, because like, you don't have to worry about, and I'm just going new school with this. Like, you don't have to worry about snow. I mean, every now and again they get some flurries or whatever, but the mountains get covered, but like there's no other team for you to compete with. So if you're the Oakland A's coming in there, you don't have any shoes to fill or any pressure or the only pressure is, hey, we got you out the dump, be good.
Your foot traffic walks right by it. So you got the foot traffic. So
you got roller coasters over the highway.
The roller coasters are right across the street. Your stadium adds to the allure of the skyline. I think
like like none of these teams in Vegas, should ever be at the bottom of their leagues. Like you're going to have rebuilding years, we understand that, but just in general, like the Oakland A's should not be what the Oakland A's are right now once they get to Vegas. The Raiders at some point, once they get something better than Jimmy G, should be like at least 9-8.
Tom Brady bought in just so you can tell Jimmy G, I'm your boss.
Yo, you know what? I never even thought about that. Like
that's the first thing I thought about.
That's like when I lost respect for Nas, being on Def Jam under Jay-Z, like I'm your boss now. I signed the checks,
Yo, I bet you Tom Brady's his first check is gonna be signed by Tom.
You know what I'm saying? He about to ban Kendra Lust from the stadium, but I just think that Vegas is gonna be the ultimate, I'm happy to get the Seattle Sonics back too. If we get those back, we got 83-77. Boston lead Miami with 1-3 in the fourth quarter. So we got a game. Is this the Celtics' last stand, or can they at least get it to another game in Boston? All you got to do is live one day at a time. So me and Raph wanted to talk about some baseball because it's been a while since we talked about some baseball, and we found an idea. I don't know why I said it like that. We found an idea proposed by Jim Bowden, who was a former major league executive. I ran into some articles last week. If you saw 2-5 Daily, I was flipping out about don't realign baseball and turn it into college football, But the reason that I felt that way was because a few of the articles that I read was talking about basically, in my eyes, turning baseball into the NBA, where it's all about the big markets and trying to get the big markets to the playoffs. I understand the business model and all that. That's how you want it. But after talking to Raph and after reading this article, I've kind of come back a little bit, but I still got some reasons why I don't like it. But I think I'm sliding over just a little bit.
I'm not really big on change, especially when something's been, working. I'm always like, yo, why don't you try to improve this, improve that? But then, like I say, we talked about this, and then I found this article. We found this article, and we were talking about it. I think it works because you still have your rivalries, and then you also generate new ones, even though it might not be your popular market. Like, for example, we all know about probably the 4 most popular baseball teams that anybody can name: the Phillies, Yankees, Mets, Red Sox. That would be your Eastern Conference East Division. So, yes, that sells itself. Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, Red Sox. I mean, it's like 500 years of baseball right there. That's just easy. That's an easy sell. But then if you go something like the West, you got the Angels and the Dodgers. That's the battle of LA, red versus blue, the good guys versus the winners. You got Ohtani versus Mookie Betts. So you have that buzz. So even if you go to Southwest, Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers, not a lot of rivalry there.
So that's the division I didn't like. Yeah.
But you got the battle for Texas. So you got, Astros, Rangers, the Royals, Cardinals. You got that Mississippi River, just kind of that central part of America, that Americana,
I need to get out the Kauffman Stadium for that waterfall too. I love that thing.
See, so then you got the Midwest. You got the Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Twins. You have, like, when we talk about, like, realignment and change, and it's always been American League versus National League. Really, all that matters is, like, are you entertaining?
So, I think for me, pro con, so, like, I think I would have loved this. Like you said, I think I'm just old, and the change thing, ain't the thing. Like, I'm for change because for baseball, because we've been talking about this, baseball needs to do something to get people back, or to get, because nobody talks about baseball. We're the only show that, besides baseball themed shows, that I've heard talk about baseball, except for like Rob Parker, but everybody else like stays away from baseball. But so I was thinking about this because baseball ran into the problem, that the ACC ran into, because, my whole thing, don't turn baseball into college football. So baseball ran into the problem that college football ran into, because, back in 2000, we had the Subway Series, Mets and Yankees, so when the ACC expanded, they put Florida State and Miami in the separate divisions on some, we'll get that rivalry rematch back in the ACC title game. And guess what, y'all? Miami's made one ACC title game and has never even won it. So that ain't happened. The Big Ten is trying to get rid of, all these college, they're getting rid of divisions. So that way you can get an Ohio State, Michigan Big Ten title game, or a Penn State, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, so on and so forth. You're trying to build that. But the problem with baseball is it's set up that way, but it never happens. So
baseball has more opportunity for your basic entertainment for baseball. You got the whole summer. Mm-hmm. After the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals, the summer's yours as far as like full-on organized games that matter.
Right.
From mid-June, give or take, till September. And then by the time September comes around, that's the height of your playoff push. So yeah, football's king and is going to get popularity in college. Everyone loves college football. They're the prince. But you have a situation where in September, say you set up to where every week these rivalry, each division. So you got the Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Phillies. The first week of September, you play like that last month, you just play your division. And you just like in the NFL, the last game of the season, you're playing against your division because it could matter for playoff seedings and so forth and so on. So they could have a whole month where the first week is Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, Phillies. The following week is Phillies, Yankees, Mets, and the Mets versus Red Sox. And that's how you roll that right into the playoffs. So you have every division, and we failed to mention there's a couple expansion ideas built into this to make it work. With the Mid Atlantic, you'd have to get an expansion team. This guy Jim Bowden, he has Charlotte as an expansion and Nashville. Nashville is one of those other up and coming cities. It's the
country music capital of the world.
Country music capital is like the bachelor party.
Shout out to all y'all that said I look like Darius Rucker. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, so it's like you have Charlotte. My cousin lives in Charlotte. She says it's a great city. Then you have good football there. You got basketball. So it's all these things. All of it works. It's just a matter of do you have enough people who believe in your plan, and do you have the capital to make the plan work? I personally think it's dope, but I'm not a baseball purist. So like, I'll probably talk to my pop sometime this week. I tend to talk to him like once or twice, probably like every week we'll talk, on my long drives. And I'll ask him what he thinks of this tomorrow. Now that me and you kind of dissected a little bit, he might not be on board because he's a baseball purist. He's loved baseball his whole life.
See, like I think
years old. So it's like,
I think what got me on board a little bit, like I said, I'm not fully there yet, but I think what I started to think about, because I like the rivalry thing, hold the thing over your rival for the whole summer and all that stuff, build it, or winter in this case, build it up for next season. But I was thinking about this, like imagine, the Cubs and the White Sox fighting for a playoff berth. And you know what I mean? Like the White Sox knocks out the Cubs, or vice versa, and you got the whole winter and all this build back up. So like, I think you generate the interest in baseball that way. So if I was a baseball, like in the offices, I would love this idea. What I'm afraid could happen is, like I mentioned, turn it into the NBA. I imagine that it could turn into the NBA where you wipe out the smaller markets, from attention standpoint. Because in baseball, you have your you have your teams like the Diamondbacks that if they get good, they get coverage, a little more than like say Sacramento would in a decent year in the NBA. But when you set up the divisions this way, like, for example, in say the Rockies, trying to figure out so they're in the Pacific Coast Division. So, you got the Rockies, the A's, Seattle Mariners, and the Giants. So the Giants are a national brand. Seattle, I guess gets views off of the Ken Griffey days, but they haven't really done much lately. They made the playoffs last year, but they haven't really done much lately. You got the A's moving to Oakland. To Vegas. And then you just got the Rockies sitting there, like just like in the West, like Arizona, Los Angeles, even though they're really Anaheim, I ain't giving you LA, and you got the Padres, with Tatis and Machado, who's hurt right now. But you just got the Diamondbacks sitting there. Like, I just feel like at some point you start wiping those teams out and you get into the playoffs. I would like to think that it was great when the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the Yankees in the World Series. Not just because I hate the Yankees, but I just think that was a great thing because
I don't think baseball
fans look at it that way.
Fans look at it that way. I think we as NBA fans, NFL fans, we tend to get that conversation because we're just kind of inundated with so many conversations about the sport that essentially just run out of ideas. I had never, ever thought of the phrase small market in a negative light in regards to sports. Because if you think about it, I'm about to be 42. San Antonio's won a bunch of rings since I've been alive, and they've been good. They were good for years.
Why is San Antonio a
LeBron,
small
Cleveland,
market?
just because it's in the middle of nowhere and nothing else really comes out of San Antonio.
1.4 million people here. You got Austin less than,
Yeah, but that's a totally different
two and a half hours away. I know, but like all the stuff in between, like New Braunfels,
how many people
all that kind of stuff.
non-Air Force have traveled from wherever they live to San Antonio for any reason?
I know quite a few actually. They're usually older though.
Non-Air Force that traveled. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's like I don't know anyone's gone to Cleveland for any kind of
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, have you gone to Cleveland for that? I've been to Cincinnati in high school.
I went to Cleveland before, but it wasn't for that. It was for girls. But
you know what I'm saying? So it's like that's what I mean. So even if you think about like Tampa Bay, Green Bay, I didn't think about the market size in regards to Brett Favre.
Well, I think football is different in general, though. Like football is different though, because people like right now.
I didn't think Sacramento Kings with Vlade Divac. I didn't think they didn't get the calls because of their market size. I just think
they didn't get the call because they weren't LA. That's all. They weren't the Lakers. That's all.
Donaghy and Scott Foster is trying to build a beach house in Malibu.
But I think that no, but football's different because like right now, you got people already talking about, I don't want to see this finals with the Nuggets and the Heat or whatever. And you had the same thing when Milwaukee and Phoenix played each other, New Jersey at the time, and San Antonio. You had all this talk, this chatter, Detroit, San Antonio. But then like when you look at like football, people would watch a Carolina Panther, Jacksonville Jaguars Super Bowl, no issue, because you got the commercials, you got all the stuff around the game. People would tune in for the Super Bowl. So I don't know, like, so if the World Series ended up being like, say, Phillies Dodgers, is that too much for the purist fan?
Because they're both used to be National League teams.
Yeah, like I know that we'll eventually get there because everything evolves and you adapt. But initially, is that going to be a thing where like if the World Series is like, say, Toronto against Seattle, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just a question that I have. I don't have an opinion on it either way, but
does the billboard scare off the purists? I mean, like I said,
the good thing
I'll ask a 65-year-old baseball fan, see what he thinks. But like as you and I break it down, I like it. But like I said, I'm of the ilk that I think baseball needs a bit of
they need a charge.
Like they need a Zeus bolt of lightning kind of charge. And I think they're one of the few sports that hasn't made a lot of changes that they can make this swing for the fences and it'll be pretty legit.
Yeah, I think it'll pay off because, like I said, you're getting more if these divisions happen the way that he outlined it. You got New York and New York, playing a bunch of times against each other during the season. Whereas now they only play.
Instead of promising this mythical hypothetical World Series where it's Dodgers versus Anaheim, and Mike Trout hasn't made the playoffs ever.
I feel bad for
You can get that game. You can get it in July. You can get that 3-game series in July. You can get another one in August. You get another one in September, and then same thing with your, you got your the Vegas Athletics or whatever that is named to.
That North Division looks ugly though. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Detroit, Toronto. I get why it makes sense.
Like exciting places, but maybe that battle for Ohio is like the move, or maybe the battle for the UP,
battle
the
for
Detroit.
Ohio.
Listen, you
Oh,
gotta
is that a shot to the Upper Peninsula? You know,
the UP.
Yeah, I knew what you meant right there. Like I don't know if everybody knew what you meant, but I knew what you meant right there.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, you know, 2-5, right? Rivalry dude. So that point of it makes sense. You know, but and the good news about the purists, we talked about the purists. The good news about the purists is that they're old now. You know what I mean? So like in 30 years from now, a lot of the people that are hardcore baseball, this is how it should be, they're going to move on, you know, unfortunately in that way, but they're going to move on. And then, you know, you're going to probably potentially have a younger generation, like maybe some say 27-year-old up in New York right now doesn't really follow baseball. But you can't avoid Mets Yankees. You know, it's in your face. You know, not only if you're a dude that lives in Boston or Mattapan or somewhere like that, you know, like you're like, yo, not only do I get to hate the Yankees, but I get to hate the Mets too. You know,
the first time I went to a Yankee game, I didn't even know how to get there. I just followed 3 people that had on. It was one guy had on Yankee jersey, and this guy and his girl had on Red Sox jerseys. I just followed them through the train station. That's like, all right, well, they obviously going the same place I'm going.
Yeah. And you know, the Red Sox and Mets got that World Series back in '86, I think it was. You know, they got that, you know, going for them. So I'm sure there's some sore people, and it's Boston, New York. So you got to have something there. You know, like I said, Chicago, because I always said this, like, you know, I'm going to get the answer to my question, because I always said, like, hey, every time I meet somebody from Chicago, they are always a Cubs fan. You know what I mean? Like for every 15 people I meet from Chicago, there's one White Sox fan in the group. You know what I mean? So like now we get to see this, you know, the North and the South, you know, I'm sure it's big there.
I think the White Sox are the South side, and then you got the Cubs are the North side, the suburban upper middle class fans.
Because you know Wilbon,
that's the clash there.
Because you know Michael Wilbon is a Cubs fan, and you know, like he doesn't even, like, as it stands right now, he doesn't even really talk about the White Sox, you know, so I don't know, you know, so so the Cubs are on the north side, White Sox on the south side, but you know, but yeah, like you don't even see those. We're not in a place to see those fan bases right now.
But if you give them, like I said, if you give them enough in-season games to where either if the White Sox and the Cubs, so you play 162 games and you have to play, I'm throwing some arbitrary number, you got to play 60 games in your division. That's a large number. But if every year the White Sox are just beating the brakes off the Cubs, that's going to inspire them to like really turn around, because you can't have this team across town beating you every single week. Especially, I know the Yankees and Mets. If the Mets played against each other, Mets Yankees played, and they played 15 times, and it was 11-4 Yankees. Oh, the Mets, they're spending money at all season. And if it was 11-4 Mets, the Yankees are spending money at all season.
You know, and that's the same thing.
They don't want to lose that.
And that's the same thing too. I meet like one Met fan for every 25 Yankee fans. You know, like the Mets ain't out here like that.
This is how it goes. It's Mets, Jets, Islanders.
Mm-hmm. Yankees, Giants, Rangers.
Yankees, Giants, Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's the split that
I think they're
too.
all Knicks fans for the most part, sprinkling some Brooklyn fans.
Well, the Brooklyn fans, I imagine, are like younger, you know, that hipster type. Yeah,
it's not in your bones the way.
Right.
So it's Rangers, Knicks, Giants.
And I'm sure some people probably rejected the Nets just because they came from Jersey.
And it was like they just lean more into the Knicks. Like, we don't care about that team that plays in Barclays.
Yeah,
like,
we need like in the next 5 years, you know, saying we need Jay-Z to play the Spike Lee role.
Nah, he's like, I did enough. I got these buildings taken down. Yeah, I got the stadium built. I got my cut.
Maybe he'll send Bleak to do it. You know what I'm saying?
The Russian oligarch got his money, and I started Rock Nation.
Yeah. Maybe I don't want Uncle Murder up in there because who knows what's gonna happen if you let Uncle Murder in there.
You know what happened. You know what happened.
You know, but yeah, like so, you know, but I think that I'm sliding more towards that. Like, so in addition, so we talked about Charlotte and Nashville being in these divisions. So I think I would like, you know, they like Charlotte's in the division, the Mid-Atlantic we talked about with Baltimore, Washington, and Pittsburgh. So if you're gonna do all this, I would imagine like Baltimore and Washington will stay in the same division, but I would imagine like I don't know, like Pittsburgh, Philly could be a thing, you know, but other cities that I've heard potentially for expansion, you know, besides those two are Portland, Montreal, and Vancouver. You know, I don't know if the Vancouver thing works. I do like having a Western Canadian team. I just don't know what the cry for baseball in Vancouver is.
Yeah, that's the thing is like we have a map in my office, and you know it's United States map, and then you have the Canada, obviously North American map. 70% of Canadians live in this eastern part that's just above, like just north of Michigan and east.
Right.
So like 70% of Canadians live there, where
Right.
Montreal is. Vancouver is way on the
way out there. Yeah, way
it's
out there.
Very some it's equivalent to like Portland because there's not much out Portland. Because I mean, Portland looks great, but it's not much out there. There's not a lot of stuff comes through there.
There's
like,
just a lot of homeless people. That's what's out there.
It's not the move. Like Seattle is a big hub for if you're trying to go to Asia. Like you go on to Korea, you go on to Japan, you go through Seattle. You go through San Francisco.
And hold on a second. We got a 17-point lead for the Celtics. 100-83 with 7:18 left in this game. The Celtics may just live to fight another day. But go ahead.
Yeah, so you don't have like that. It's not like an international like respite for any kind of traffic. And I don't think a baseball team generates that. So what you have, I know people they want, for some reason, everyone wants a bunch of teams in Canada. I'm not sure if Canada really cares.
Yeah.
Like they have the fans. Like the Canadian fans can root for most of these teams from Michigan all the way across.
And they got their own football.
Pretty close. Yeah, because I caught a connecting flight that connected in Detroit from here to Utah. And the girl sat next to me was from Toronto, and she just drove in to Detroit to catch her flight. Like to catch her flight, she was going to Vancouver.
Right.
So it was like, oh, I didn't realize it was that close. But she's like, I just drove in, came across.
Yeah, I've never been to Vancouver, but I've been in British Columbia, north of Vancouver, like way north and in between. So, you know, and of course, like, you know, it was nothing. Like it was pretty, you know, there was a lot of animals, you know, a lot of animal refuge where you could get out the car and like go pet a sheep or something and feed a deer, you know, you could do that type of stuff. But, you know, so from that standpoint, like Vancouver itself, I'm sure is a nice city, probably reminds you of Seattle in some ways because of proximity. But once you get past Vancouver, what else is in British Columbia that, and you know, like automatically is
all the way up, you got Alaska.
Well, but then automatically, you know, like next to British Columbia as I was driving through, so going east now, you got Edmonton. You know what I mean? Like our Edmonton people going to cheer for a Vancouver team just because it's Canadian, you know, and then you got Saskatchewan next to that, you know, with the city of Regina. I didn't say what you think I said. Regina. No, I just know. I know because when I went there,
everybody that's literally circled on the map in my office.
Yeah, I went through. No, I drove through there and I went to Walmart, and the lady was like, you know, oh, you aren't from around here, and I go, no, this is my first time to Regina, and she goes, it's Regina. And it was like, don't disrespect us like that. Put respect on our name. It's Regina. But our people in Regina.
Yo, you getting geographical lessons on sports reports is ordered too.
Yeah, that's right. Our people
give you travel tips.
And then when you go east of that, you got Manitoba, where you can find Winnipeg, so like, are those places, I'm gonna cut it off there because then you start, so are those teams going to give a backing of like, hey, y'all got the Blue Jays, this is West Side over here, you know what I mean? Are you going to get into those type of Canadian wars? I doubt it.
Yeah, the Memphis Grizzlies used to play in Vancouver when they had Big Country back in the day.
Yeah, my guy Michael Dickerson.
That didn't last long. Mm-hmm. Like, that was an expansion team, and it was
but that's another city that I've heard that the NBA may explore going, putting another expansion team in. I mean, just like Montreal, you had a shot. They're the Nationals now. You know what I mean? So when I look at this, I know Portland and Nashville were mentioned as a part of the Oakland A pursuit in the beginning, but obviously if you got Vegas in there, you're not going to Portland. You're probably not going to Nashville. So, like, that just goes without saying. So, I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Who knows? This might not even happen,
I think it should happen. Ooh, Boston's looking fierce.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, they have a shot. Yeah, dude. You got to win one game at a time.
And then guess what? If they hold on here, they go home. So it's conceivable that they could win a game in Boston. But then the hard part is you got to win back. Yeah, that's the hard part. You got to come back to Miami.
Come back to Miami.
The good news is if you somehow navigate through those waters, Game 7 is at your
Game
place.
7 is back in Boston.
Yeah, because, I remember the year the Nuggets beat Seattle. The first time an 8 seed had ever beat a 1 seed. In the second round, they played Utah, went down 3-0, got to Game 7. But it was back in Utah and they lost. So,
yeah.
No team has ever done this before. But we see nobody ever came from 3-1 in the finals. A 16 seed never beat a 1 seed.
And that's happened a few times.
Yeah. So now T-Neck, New Jersey, so now maybe we're just in.
Billy Dickinson, what up?
I only knew that because you said it, but here we are. We're in the age of history now. So I don't want to jump the gun and say, but if Boston wins this game, like I said, I don't put it past them to win because, Jason Tatum waits until they're down and back against the wall before he charges up the Mamba mentality. So maybe they could get a game at home. And then we'll see what happens if they come back to Miami. So, but anyway, great stuff. We're at that time of show, of course. Get it off my chest. You know what I'm saying? Like, Raph be sitting up here talking about, I'm just happy, man. I ain't got nothing on my mind, man.
I got something today. It's simple. It's just silly. It's silly. So last week we had the draft lottery. Right?
Yep.
And Victor Wembanyama from France, 7'4", 7'5", whatever all these numbers are. Projected to be number 1 overall pick. Makes sense. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You got to pick him.
Yep.
But immediately in the middle of an NBA playoff run that's essentially historic, people just started acting like they didn't have anything to talk about. So they started saying ridiculous, asinine stuff like, oh, if his career is KD's and he failed. I'm like, what does that even mean? It's so stupid. It's so dumb. And Gilbert Arenas said it best. And he's like, yo, if I was him, I mean, Grant, I know he's being a little facetious, but he's like, if I was him, I would just stay in France. He's like, because it's like, he's like, because there's no way in hell I'm going to come over here and play my heart out. And you tell me because I'm not somebody else, I didn't do my job. If my career ends up like I came up short, or is he the best prospect of all time? These stupid hypothetical conversations that we don't have. We've done, we're probably up to like 25, 26 episodes, if not more. We haven't had one segment where we threw out a hypothetical and argued it like we had facts to support it. But yet these pundits do these shows and they come out and say, oh, if his career is Ralph Sampson, but he had the injury, so that's be acceptable. But if his career is Shaq, then he underachieved. It's like, oh my, it's nauseating. It's ridiculous. Let this dude get drafted. Let him play in San Antonio. Let Popovich teach him the bank shot. Let Tim Duncan come teach him all these other moves. Reserve his legs, preserve his feet, and let him play basketball. Let these guys come in and set you up, because you're gonna lose legends. Steph Curry is 35. He's a champion. Kyle Lowry is 37. He's a champion. Chris Paul, 36, 37. He's out. James Harden's about to just basically take his swan song down to Houston. LeBron's almost done. AD is probably not going to play too much longer after LeBron's not there. Jokic is probably one of your younger guys. Murray's your younger guys. You need to start ushering in a new group of guys and not give them these expectations that they got to be KD or they're unsuccessful. KD has 2 rings, an MVP, 2 finals MVPs, and we did the math, probably one of our earlier episodes. If he didn't get injured, he would probably be top 7 right now in points because of the pace that he was scoring points. So it's like, cut out the nonsense. Let this young man come over here and do what he does, play basketball and entertain the masses. Don't put handcuffs on his success before he even gets to hold up shake Adam Silver's hand and put the hat on. That's all I'm saying.
It's so hard to say goodbye. Because these dudes are getting older, longer in the tooth, as I like to say. But so I was thinking about this, totally unexpected. I didn't know you were going to talk about that. But I was listening to the Eye on College Basketball today, and this isn't my get it off my chest. It's just adding on to that. They did that, they made me think about Imani Bates, because at one point it was like Imani Bates is the biggest prospect since LeBron James, and he was going to be next in that lineage of this is going to be the dude that's going to come to the NBA, take over all that stuff. And then I was listening to the scouting reports and stuff that came from the combine, and they were talking about how small even though he's like 6'9" or 6'10", how small his arms were and how he doesn't pass. He's not a good dribbler. And I was like, y'all probably knew that, when he was 16 or whatever, when y'all were giving him all this hype. And then, what do you do, right? Like people were talking about, could Portland trade? This was just opinion somebody brought up. Could Portland trade up to 2 to get Scoot Henderson? And Scoot Henderson, I guess made the comment like, I can play with Dame Lillard. And it's like, hold up, first of all, he might be good, but who the hell is Scoot Henderson to be like, yo, we're going to get rid of Dame, or we're going to put you with Dame and have this great backcourt? You're just doing too much. But, so we started off this episode talking about how people were jacking our slang, right? So I'm a jack something from ESPN real quick. So Pat Narduzzi, come on, man. So Pat Narduzzi, for those of you who don't know, he is the head coach of Pitt, the Pitt Panthers college football team. Previously coached at Michigan State as the head coach, but so he had Kenny Pickett come through, won the ACC and everything, all this kind of stuff. Had Jordan Addison, who had won the Biletnikoff and now plays for the Minnesota Vikings as the Adam Thielen replacement. So we live in the transfer portal era. So, Coach Prime came through, talked about his Louis. We talked about that, the luggage and all this stuff. So he specifically at the ACC spring meetings brought up Coach Prime, who plays in the Pac-12 all the way on the other side of the country, geography and all that, all the way over there, and he says, this wasn't the way the transfer portal was meant to be. Quote, that's not what the transfer portal rule intended to be. It was not overhaul your roster. So Pat Narduzzi, don't hate the player, hate the game. The NCAA were the ones that gave these extra COVID years. So I think that's why you're seeing so much movement, because now these dudes are graduating, realizing that they're probably not going to get drafted in the NFL, or they're going to get drafted in the 6th round or something like that. So they take an extra year, go to another school, try to up some stock and whatever the case. Maybe they could be a 4th rounder. We see it in basketball all the time. These 5th-year seniors moving all around. Are you still mad because Jordan Addison went to USC? I mean, like if I was in Pittsburgh and somebody offered me millions to go play in Los Angeles, like I'm probably going to do that. No disrespect to Pittsburgh with the, pizza sauce on top of the pizza and all that. We still don't know if this is actually going to work for Coach Prime. But the one thing I will say is that I'm glad you're bringing it up now versus if Deion went 4-8 or something like that, then you try to pile on after the fact. So I'm glad that you said it now. But Pat Narduzzi, come on, man.
These guys are these transfer portals, man. It's like when they had all the leverage, it wasn't a problem. They lost the leverage, and that's all it is. It's a matter of they don't have the leverage they had over these young players.
But yeah, you had people like
and it's not gonna work out.
You had
it
people
might
like
not work
Jay
out
Wright.
For everybody.
You had people like Jay Wright, won 2 national titles as the head coach of Villanova in recent years. And a lot of people speculate like that was one of the reasons why he left, and Roy Williams from North Carolina, formerly of Kansas, 3-time national title coach. Same thing. People were saying like, hey, he's in his 70s now and he just doesn't want to deal with this. And it's like, deal with what?
Sometimes, like, there's a reason there's a retirement age.
But deal with what?
It's cool to just be like, deal with having to recruit your players and recruit new players and try to keep everybody happy. It's probably pretty difficult. It's probably pretty tasking.
Yeah, the same way.
Like Lincoln Riley probably came through with the private jet. I mean, listen, Lane Kiffin is riding around in a Phantom, picking up recruits like an Uber, letting them put it on Instagram. I don't know if Nick Saban is driving you around, let you record him, chauffeuring you around. Because Lane Kiffin's like, I'm with it.
He don't have to, though. That's what the henchmen are for. There's always, every team has like a dude that is probably some kind of position coach, but he's known for how good he can recruit as well. So Pat Narduzzi doesn't even have to do all that. Like, just put the right people around you.
The fact that Lane Kiffin was like, I'm willing to do this to go get Jackson Dart from Utah to come down to Ole Miss and be quarterback. I'm gonna have him.
He from Utah?
He went to high school, one of the bigger high schools.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, because he transferred from USC. That's why
he transferred from USC.
Yeah, that's why I was like, hold up.
I don't know how Utah lets quarterbacks leave the state, but that's neither.
Because they don't want to stay there. There's a lot of things that dudes in Utah can't do at a. Hey, you saw what happened to Brandon Davies.
BYU.
I know, but you saw what happened to Brandon Davies.
You can go to the U.
Brandon
you
Davies
can do whatever you want to do on
all I know is Brandon Davies did something that college dudes do, and he got suspended for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, because he went to BYU. I don't know how you get people. I don't know how you get a dude that's not Mormon raised his whole life to commit to BYU.
Maybe
I don't.
Maybe they don't have many better options.
But BYU's a Division I program. That's a prime. But
if your options,
so if you're talented enough to go to BYU, you have to be talented enough to go to Boise State.
But if your options,
or Oregon State.
But if your options,
how do you get a dude from Florida to go to BYU?
I don't know.
That's a good school.
But if your offers are BYU
school,
if your offers are BYU, Colorado State, Wyoming, and like somewhere all the way over here, like I don't know, like Rutgers, no disrespect.
I'm going to Colorado State.
But maybe
I'm not going from Florida to Provo.
I'm not going from Salt Lake City to Provo.
even if you went on an official visit, Provo looks like if they were to film a Western that was set in
I was just about to say that.
1920
Tombstone.
They wouldn't have to change most of Provo. Maybe like you just have to shoot at a certain angle, but for the most part, like I went there for a hockey tournament once. I was like, this is it. And I was in Utah for like 6 years by this point.
Yeah.
And I was like, I ain't never been here. And I'm like, I can see why.
Yeah. So before we let you go, ladies and gentlemen, we have a final 116-99. The Celtics are now 3-0 in elimination games in this here playoffs. Jason Tatum with 34 11-7. Braff's happy because he went 14 for 22. Jaylen Brown, 16, 4-4 on 7 of 16. Derek White chipped in 16. Marcus Smart, 11. Grant Williams, with 14 and 6 boards. You got Miami, Bam Adebayo, 10 points, 5 rebounds because he went 4 for 7. So, he probably got to get more shots. Jimmy Butler, 29, 9-5 on 9 of 21 to include 10 of 12 from the free throw line. Gabe Vincent with 17, Caleb Martin with 16, and nobody else got in double digits. Duncan Robinson, the hero from game 3 with 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting. So, hey, Boston did the first step. Now they just got to go back home, act like they want to be home. And, there you go. We got a game 6 potentially. So, but on that note, Sports Reports is ordered anywhere you get your podcast, on YouTube, all the good stuff. Like us, review us, subscribe. It's free. We're not charging you nothing. Look, we wanted a few podcasts that's commercial free for y'all too, by the way.
Absolutely.
So, but thanks for the support that we've been getting to this date. Tell your friends about us, and hopefully, we can get some more support and make some more friends. Leave us some comments, send us some emails, all that good stuff.
Listen, it's free 99 to like and subscribe. It's free 99 to share. It's free 99 to leave a comment. We want to hear. You want to hear it. Instagram, yes. Twitter, email, YouTube video clips, whatever you need to just highlight us. And
Denver, it's easy. You retire Jokic. You know what I'm saying? Give Carmelo a jersey that says 15A. Give Carmelo something that says 16. You know what I'm saying? Listen, the answer is Nikola.
Y'all seen the truth come out, right? This is why we call him 2-5.
So I'm the only person in America that thinks that Jokic deserves it over Melo?
I mean, you're very definitive with that.
Why wouldn't I be?
That's a discussion for a later day. I mean, we got plenty of these podcasts.
I don't know why you brought up Ray Allen, though. The Melo thing I understood. I don't know why you brought up Ray Allen, but,
Listen, Jesus Shuttleworth. Jesus.
That was make-believe.
Jesus Shuttleworth. Let's go.
But, we'll be back on Thursday. Love you, America. Peace.
We out.